Welcome. So we will create this game Gravity Glide Ball Runner in Flutter 2024. You guys can see the beautiful design for the ball runner game over here. The background design, you guys can see the score and the top score. For now it's 0. You guys can see the arrow pointing in the downward direction. So you guys can see the play button over here. Whenever the user will tap on this play button, it will just start the game and the ball will start moving, and there will be barricades. You guys will notice that. So in order to just save the player from the barricades, you guys have to just tap on the screen. The ball will jump and pass the barricade and the score will be incrementing, and also you guys will notice the top score with it. So that's the ground over here, and in there just set the Gravity Glide name over here. Now let's just go ahead and test this amazing game. Tap on this play button, the ball start moving, tap, jump, score is 1 for now. You guys can see that. Jump again, score is 2, jump again, 3, and if the ball just collides with the barricades, you guys will then notice the top score. It will just assign the score to the top score. From now on, it's just incrementing the score because the ball is just passing the barricades successfully. Now let's just collide it with the barricade. You guys will notice the game's over screen over here. You guys can see that, and that's the score, and it just assigned that score to the top score. And if you just start the game again and cross the score 11, then the top score will change to the high score then. So now tap on the screen, we will just play the game again. Now come here and tap on display and jump the ball like that. It's 1 now. Jump, let's just cross the top score. Okay, you guys can see the movement of the ball. It's working totally fine. Let's just cross the top score. There we go, it's 12 now, the score. And if the ball just collides with the barricade, then the game will be over and it will assign the score to the top score then. Let's just collide. That's the collision area over here of the barricade. So it just collide, and you guys can see the score is assigned to the top score now. Before it was 11, now it's 16. So we will create this amazing game right in the Flutter 2024. Welcome back. So let's go ahead and click on this new Flutter project over here. Tap on that. Now in here, make sure to select the SDK path over here. As you guys can see, I have already selected that, and then make sure to select in here Flutter. Now let's go ahead and tap on this next. Now in here we will give the project name over here. So simply I'll just delete that, and we will give the name as Gravity. Instead of space we will give underscore, and the name must be right in small alphabets. Okay, now as I told you already, instead of space we will give underscore over here, and then I'll say glide. So that's our project name. And now what I'll do in here, I'll just uncheck that one, and that one. We will be working right on the Android and iOS platform. Okay, now let's go ahead and tap on this create. This will create a project for us. Just wait for a while. Here we are right in the Android Studio. Now the first thing that we will do over here, I'll just close that main dot and also that readme, and in here make sure to select in here the project. Okay, it's already selected. Now what I'll do, I'll just go down to the lib directory, expand that over here, and tap on this main dot. Now the first thing that I will do, right in the main dot, just to remove some classes. So in here you guys can see that class by the name my homepage. Just wrap that like that, and also this one, wrap it, and simply just remove that. We don't need this. Now the next thing we will do, just to remove those command lines from here, clear that, and in here now just remove that, and in here we will just have the scaffold widget for now. Later on we will just modify that accordingly to our design. And now in here I'll just change the title, which will be Gravity Glide. Now simply we will go and add some assets, and then we will just set the path for the assets in our project right in the postspec.yaml. So if we just take this down Android Studio, you guys can see over here that asset directory. I will just provide that right in the resource and also right in the comment section down below. You guys can easily get it from there. Now we will simply just drag and drop that directory right in the Gravity Glide. You guys can see over here. Now you guys can see the refractor. Simply come here and tap on that. It will just add it to our project. Now you guys can see over here the assets directory over here. So if we just expand that, in here you guys can see the fonts, it's Ababas and Signatura. And also if you go to the directory by the name images, expand that over here, in here we're having all of the images for our game. So in here just tap on it, you guys will notice it. Okay, now just close that, and what I'll do now, I'll just go to the postspec.yaml. in here we will set the path now for the assets and also for the fonts. So scroll down, in here you guys can see that one. Now what I'll do, in here I'll just add the path for the assets. The first thing that I will do, I'll simply just delete that from here, and in here right in the start we will remove the hash sign over here and move the assets right on the left side. You guys can see below this hash. Okay, like in the proper alignment, or otherwise it will give you error. So now you will press enter, and below the second S of the assets over here, that small one, in here we will just put the dash over here, and then we say assets, you guys can see, and then we'll go with the slash, and then we say images. Okay, and right at end we will just provide the slash sign, so it will just added all of the images which is right inside the directory images and then asset directory. Let me just show you that. There's the asset directory, and over here we provide that, and just expand that. In here you guys can see the images directory. If you guys just expand that, that's all of the images which is right inside the images directory. So that's that indicate that it will just include all of the images which will be right inside the images directory asset, and right inside that we go with the images directory and all of the images. So it will just successfully add that, and it must be right in the proper alignment as we did over here. So make sure do it the correct way. Now let's just scroll down and we will add the fonts. So in here what I'll do, I'll just delete that from here. You guys can see that fonts over here, remove the hash and move the fonts to the left side below this hash. Okay, down below in here right in the proper alignment. Now what I'll do, I'll just press enter, and below the small alphabet N of fonts over here, you guys can see down below in here. First I'll just provide the dash over here, you guys can see, and then we say family and in here I'll give the name as Babas, because right in the fonts directory you guys can see it's a Babas. Okay, so you guys can give the name to the family. So we already get the name as Babas over here. Now press enter, and down below the family, small f, over here I'll say fonts. You guys can see that, and then I'll just press enter. Below the small alphabets and of fonts over here, first I'll just provide the dash. You guys can see that over here, and then we say space, then we say assets over here below the small alphabet S over here of fonts. You guys can see that right in the proper alignment. Now what I'll do in here, we'll say assets. You guys can see that, and then we say slash, and it's right inside the fonts directory. So in here we'll provide the fonts assets directory over here. You guys can see, and right inside that, that's the fonts directory. So in here I'll just provide that, and right inside that is a Babas. So what I'll do first, in here I'll just provide the slash, and then we will just write this name. So what I'll do, right click, go to the refactor, rename. In here just copy that name from here, Control C, and just cancel that from here, and in here just press the Control V. There we go with the name. You guys can see that. You can even manually write it over here, but make sure it must be the same name. Okay, right in the fonts directly, that one. So we are done, and what I'll do now, I'll just add the another family. So we will just go to the left side like that, and first in here dash, and then we say family. You guys can see that, and this time is going to be signature. You guys can see that over here. So first I'll just give the name to the family, which will be signature, as I told you already. Now press enter in here, fonts. There we go. Now press enter again, provide the dash first below the small alphabet N of fonts over here. Now in here space assets we'll say, and then let's just provide the path over here. So assets, and then slash. You guys can see that, we'll say fonts slash again. What I'll do, I'll just go to refactor, rename, copy that name from here, Control C, cancel that over here, just Control V, paste it. So successfully we just added the fonts for the fonts over here, and also the font for the asset images over here. So right after that, what I'll do, I'll just come over here and click upon this pub get. It will just import it, or let's say edit in our project, in order to use it right in the future codes of a game. Now pub get, tap on that, just wait for a while, wait for the exact code 0. There we go. So it's mean it successfully just added our assets right in the project, successfully imported. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll just get this down, close the pubspec.yaml, and in here you guys can see pubspec has been edited. So what I'll do in here, first come here and tap on this get dependencies, just make sure exit or 0, done, get this down. Now you can simply just ignore that, and what I'll do now, we are back to the main dot now. Now the first thing that we will do, we will go towards lib and create a new directory by the name splash screen. Now in this directory we will create a new file by the name splash screen, right in the small alphabet, and instead of space we will give underscore. You guys can see that over here specifically for the file. Okay, now in here screen and press enter. Here we are right in the splash screen. Now in here what I'll do, I'll just have the stateless widget. So in here I'll write st, and that's a startful, that is stateless widget over here. Now what I'll do, I'll just give the name as splash screen, over here. You guys can see that, and we will just take this down, and in here I'll say import package flutter material dot dart. There we go. I'll just remove that placeholder widget over here, and also the const modifier over here, and we will return the scaffold widget for now and take this down. Now right in the scaffold widget, mainly we will focus right on the body. The first thing that I will do in here, I'll copy that name from here, control C it, and go to man.dart. In here remove the scaffold widget from here, and over here just paste the display screen and tap on that, add the library, import that. Here we are, all good. Now back to the display screen.dart over here. In here now mainly focus on the body, right in the scaffold widget, as I told you already in here. Now I'll take the container widget and take this down. Now we will implement the beautiful UI design for the display screen for our game Gravity Glide Ball Runner. So before implementing the UI design, first I'll go and from the device manager, from here I'll just open the emulator. So I'll achieve the result right at a real time. There we go. With the emulator I'll just take to the side, and now what I'll do, let's just go ahead right in the body container over here. You guys can see that. So the first thing that I will do, I'll do some decoration for that. So in here we'll say decoration, then we say box decoration over here. You guys can see the widget, and in here brushes, just take this down from here. And guys, we are doing that decoration simply for the image. You guys will notice that in a while. So right in the box decoration, what I'll do now, I'll say image over here, you guys can see, and then I'll say decoration image, the widget over here. Now just take this down, and in here I'll say image, then we'll go with the asset image. You guys can see that. Now in here brushes, and right inside that we will have this string. There we go. And right at end, outside the braces, we will put comma over here. Now right in the string, what I'll do, I'll just simply provide the path for the image. First I'll just go to the asset. You guys can see that over here, the directory. Just expand that, and we will go to the directory images. There we go. And in here you guys can see that back.jpg. You guys can see that. We will add that image. So what I'll do in here, first in here asset, so I'll provide that over here assets. And guys, the spelling must be same, or otherwise it will not just get that image. Okay, make sure to just make it in a proper way. So in here slash then, and then it's right inside the images directory. You guys can see that. So I'll here provide the images, you guys can see, and then slash again, and then the name of the image. You guys can see that over here. Simply I'll just write it back.jpg. You guys can see that. And in here I'll just add the const modifier, so the yellow line will be gone. There we go. And let me just check that display screen right in the man.dart. We call it here already. Now we will go back to the display screen.dart over here. Now what I'll do, I'll just simply run the app, and you guys will notice that image right for the display screen. So whenever the app will run, it will just start reading the code from here, from the man.dart, and here you guys can see we call upon the display screen over here, so it will directly just go towards the display screen. And right in display screen, you guys can see over here we add successfully the image. You guys will notice that in a while. So let's just go ahead and click on this front man.dart, run the app. This will take a while, just wait for it. Running the app successfully, you guys can see that over here. Just wait for a while. There we go with the result. You guys can see that over here, the image right for the display screen over here. I'll remove that zoom control from the emulator. What I'll do, I'll just come here and just uncheck that. It's gone. Now you guys can see the result over here. Now what I'll do, I'll just set that image to the core. So in here I'll add the property fit over here, and then we say box fit the widget over here, and then we'll go with a dot cover. You guys can see that, and write it and comma. Now simply just press the Control S and you guys will notice the changes. There we go, you guys can see that, and I have already hot reloaded the app, you guys know that. Now what I'll do, I'll just remove that red banner from here, the debug one. So for that specifically we will go toward the main dot over here, and right in the material app in here I'll say debug show checked mode banner, and we will set this to false. Now if you guys just press the Control S, it'll be gone. There we go, you guys can see that there is no banner. Now we will go back toward display screen dot over here, and let's just move ahead. So below the box decoration over here I'll say child, and we will take the center widget as a child over here, and now right in the center of the screen we will add a image. You guys will notice that. So in here, that's why we have that widget by the name center. So in here first what I'll do, child, we'll take the column widget as a child over here right in the center widget, and then first what I'll do, I'll just set the alignment for the image right in the center of the screen. So we will just add the property for that specifically. So in here we'll say main x alignment over here, and then we say main axis alignment dot center. It will just set that right in the center of the screen. Now right after that we'll have the children, and right in the children we will take the row widget over here. You guys can see that, and write it and comma. Now just take this down, and right in the row widget what I'll do, we will add the alignment widget again for the center, just to set the main x alignment for the image right in the center of the screen. So in here I'll say main x alignment, you guys can see that, and then we'll go with the widget dot center over here, you guys can see. Now right after that children, now just take this down from here, and then we'll go with the clip all, you guys can see that over here, that specific widget. And now what I'll do, I'll just take this down and we'll say child over here, and then we'll go with the image dot asset over here. Now remove the name, take this down like that, scroll down. In here what I'll do, I'll just provide the path. So in here first string, you guys can see that, and it's right inside the asset directory, you guys already know that, and then slash images, you guys can see, and then slash, let me just show you the image. Right in the images we'll go with the splash one, that one, okay, you guys can see that. So in here I'll just add the splash dot png, and guys the name must be similar, otherwise it will not get that image, so make sure the spelling must be same. Now you guys can see that we already just said that in here comma. Now if I just press the Control S, you guys will notice that there we go, okay, but we have to just set the width and height for that in order to just remove that or float. And so in here what I'll do, let's just take this down, and in here we'll say widget, and we'll just set this to 350.0, and also I'll just set the height for that, it will be 350.0. You guys can see that. Now if I press the Control S, and everything will be good. There we go, you guys can see that, and I have already explained this in detail, okay. So in here I have already told you about that center widget. This widget, you guys can see, will center its child widget both vertically and horizontally within its parent widget, okay. And then in here you guys can see the column as a child over here. So this widget is a layout widget that arranges its child widget into the vertical column, and then we set the property main x alignment You guys can see that specifically this property of a column widget center its children vertically within the column. And then right after we have these children, this property basically accept a list of widgets that will be arranged in the column. And right after that we have this row widget over here right in the children. So basically it's a layout widget that arranges its side widget into the horizontal row. And then we set the main X alignment over here for the center. And then right after you guys can see the children over here. Again we set that over here, and right inside that you guys can see the widget by the name clip all. So this widget clip all clips its child widget into an oval shape. That's why we use that over here. And then we just successfully add the image over here. You guys can see, and then we set the property width and height, and you guys can see the result over here right on the screen. It's working totally fine. So now let's just move ahead. Now we will add some text. So below the row over here we'll say text widget over here, remove the data, write at end comma, and take this down from here. String over here we'll say gravity glide. You guys can see in here comma. If you guys just scroll down and press the Ctrl S, you guys will notice that you guys can see the gravity glide over here. But let's go ahead and do some style for that. It will be more attractive. So in here I'll say style. We'll go with the text style. You guys can see in here first I'll set the font size. We will just make that a little larger. So in here we'll say 90.0. Press the Ctrl S. There we go. And what I'll do now in here we'll just add the font weight. That will be good just in a while. Now we are about to just add the font weight over here, and font weight we'll go with the dot bold. It's gonna be bold, and then we have to add the font family over here. Okay, signature, and write at end semicolon. Now if you guys just press the Ctrl S, everything will be good for this specific text. Ctrl S. There we go, gravity glide. And we have to just choose the color for that because the background is black and the gravity glide it's also. So what I'll do in here, let's just go ahead and we'll go with the color. Then we'll say colors dot red, right at end comma, and in here I'll just add the const modifier so the yellow line will be gone. There we go. Now press the Ctrl S, and there we go. It's look more good than before. Now what I'll do, we'll just add another text below in here. So in here text widget, you guys can see, remove that data over here comma, take this down, string, then we say ball runner. Okay, in here comma, Ctrl S. There we go. Let's do some style for that. Text style. In here first I'll do one thing. Font size we'll go with a 30, and then we'll just choose the color for that. We'll go with the colors dot white. And also let's just add the font family as we did above for the gravity glide. So in here I'll say signature. So that's all. First let me just remove those yellow lines, add the const modifier, all good. You guys can see the code is clean now. Press the Ctrl S. There we go, gravity glide ball runner. You guys can see that. Let's just set this to 35, Ctrl S. It's look more good than before. Now the next thing that we will do, we will just add the timer for that. So whenever the app will run, First it will show the splash screen, as you guys can see that over here, and then we will set the timer. So right after 3 seconds, or let's just say 4, we will just move the user from the splash screen to the home screen. Then so the first thing that I will do, I'll just come here to lib, create a new dot file. Let's first just create a directory, and we will give the name as home, and right inside that we'll create a dot file. We will give the name as home screen. So you guys can see we are on this specific dot file. I'll just add the screen also to this directory. Just rename it. We'll say screen with it. Okay, it's good now. So right in this home screen, I'll just have the start full widget. So in here, start full, and I'll give the name as home screen. And then I'll just take this down and we'll say import. We'll say package flutter material dot. There we go. There has been gone now. So right in the home screen, what I'll do, I'll remove that placeholder widget from here, and we will return the scaffold. And right inside that we'll say app bar widget. From now on we'll just add the title over here. We'll say text widget over here, and then we'll say home screen. So whenever the user will just go from the splash screen towards the home screen, so there will be that title app bar. You guys can see home screen, so that we know. Add the console modifier over here. Now let's just go towards the splash screen dot over here. Now I'll just set the timer for that, as I told you already. So we have to just wrap that scaffold, wrap it from here. You guys can see that over here. Simply cut that, Control X, and in here I'll return the future builder. You guys can see that over here. First let me just write the code over here, and then I'll just explain that in detail. So in here you guys can see the property future and builder, the parameter that I have over here. Now remove that, and we will add that in a while, step by step. So let's just take this down from here. First I'll set the future over here. We'll say future dot delayed. We'll set the duration over here, and I'll set the seconds to 3, and right after that we'll have that in here the builder. So in here we'll provide the context, and then comma snapshot over here. Just give the name, and then what I'll do in here curly braces, just take this down from here. You guys can see that. Now right inside that what I'll do, I'll just set the if condition. We'll say if snapshot dot connection state, if that's equals to connection state dot waiting. Then what we will do, only in that case, first in here curly braces. Now take this down. In here paste the scaffold code over here back again. Okay, Control V. There we go. You guys can see the scaffold over here. Now just expand that from here, and that's all the code that we just did earlier, right in the detailed explanation. So you guys can see that over here. First let me add the console modifier over here. All good. Now just take this down, scroll down over here. That is scaffold curly braces. Below that in here we'll set else, and in here if the connection stat not equal to the connection stat dot rating. On the flip side you will just run this else, and in here we'll say return home screen over here, and right at end semicolon. You can add the console modifier over here, and right at end over here with the feature builder put the semicolon. So you guys can see that. Now we are having that error. Let me just check that over here, because we are having the if condition right inside that, and we have to just return the scaffold over here correctly. So in here I'll just write the return. There we go, and the error has been gone now. So all good. Now let me just tell you that right in the detailed explanation, that specific code over here, what it will do. So in here we return the feature builder widget over here. So right in Flutter dot, we use that widget specifically just to asynchronously wait for data while building the UI design. It just simplifies the process of handling asynchronous data, fetching and updating the UI accordingly. We use that over here, and it takes a server parameter over here. You guys can see the future and builder over here. Now if you talk about the future, what it will do, firstly, that future parameter specifies the future to which this future builder is bound, and in this case you guys can see we use the future dot delayed with a const duration, you guys can see, for 3 seconds. So this will basically create a future that completes after the delay of 3 seconds. And then we having the builder over here, you guys can see, with a context and snapshot. So this builder is a function that is called every time the future state changes, and it's take two parameter over here. You guys can see the context and snapshot over here. So firstly, the context, this one, the build context in which the widget is being built, and then we are having that snapshot over here. It's a asynchronous snapshot that contains the current state of the future. And then right inside that we set the if condition. We say if that snapshot dot connection state will be equal to the connection state dot waiting. If that's going to be equal to that, then we will return the scaffold and all of the working right inside that, as I explained this earlier right in the detailed explanation. And if that snapshot dot connection state will not be equal to the connection state dot waiting, will not be equal, okay, then we will run this else, and right in the else you guys can see we will simply just return the user towards the home screen after 3 seconds. You guys can see that. So I hope it's clear now. What I'll do, I'll just auto-load the app, run the app, and you guys will notice the changes in a while. Whenever the app will run, you guys firstly will notice the splash screen for 3 seconds, and then it will go towards the home screen. Just wait for a while, this will take a while. Running the app successfully, you guys can see that. Now let me just take this down and let's just see. There we go with the splash screen after 3 seconds. There we go with the home screen. You guys can see the app bar over here, as we said that right in the home screen dot. There we go. So it's working totally fine, and you guys can see that after 3 seconds it's just gone towards the home screen, because that condition, you guys can see, if snapshot dot connection state will not be equal to the connection state dot written, then it will go towards the home screen. And if that equals to the connection state dot writing, and in here we set the time 3 seconds, so it will just return this scaffold and all of the design in here for display screen, as you guys noticed earlier. So I hope this is clear now, and let's just move ahead. And we are done with the splash screen. Let's just close that from here. Now we are simply right on the home screen dot. You guys can see that over here. So from now on there is just that app bar, you guys can see. Now what I'll do, right in the home screen we will be working write on the logic. So we will implement some methods that we're gonna need for the future working of a game. So for now on, we will just tag this emulator to the side and we will simply focus on the logic. So above the widget build, that's a widget build, and above that we're about to create the first method. So in here we will simply just say white, it will return nothing. So in here we'll say white, and let's just give the name to this specific method as a reset jump ball. And here braces, and then curly braces, take this down. Now we're gonna need variables that we will use right in this specific method. So above that, in here we're gonna create a bool type central jump, and we're gonna just set this to false. That's fine over here. And now we will create another variable as a double type over here, time, and we're going to simply initialize by 0 over here. Now let's just get back to the method over here. So for a recent jump, we will just set the central jump over here to false, and in here semicolon, and time will be 0. Now right after that we will create another method over here. Simply we will say wide over here, it will return nothing, so it's gonna be wide, and in here we will just give the name to the method as a play game again. Now in here call the braces, take this down. And guys, in here for the recent jump ball, the central jump we just set to false, okay, and the time will be 0. So it's gonna be simply for the jump ball as a initial phase, the start one. So that's why in here we set to that specifically. Now right after that, in here for the play game again, what we will do in here, first just call upon the system, so it will just change the result dynamically whenever we will just run the app and use the game. And now we're gonna need some variables, so let's just go ahead above. In here let's just create that. So in here we'll say bool type, and we'll say game as started, and we'll set this to false, and also we'll create another bool type over here, and we'll say game is over, set this to false, and also just create the remaining ones that we're gonna need. Ball as past barricade, and we'll just set this to false over here. Now right after that we're gonna simply just create the integer type over here, the score, set this to 0, and integer type we're gonna have the best score also. So in here we'll also just set this to 0. You guys can see that over here. Now right after that, what we will do, we're gonna just create the double type height, and we're gonna initialize 0 for now. Now right after that, let's just create the double gravity. We'll just initialize 12, and right after that we'll say double, let's go with the velocity of the ball, we're gonna just initialize 6, That's going to be the initial speed of the ball, and that's the gravity we set over here. The height will be 0 and time, you guys can see over here, initialize 0. Now right after that, let's just take this down, and we have to create the variables that we're gonna need right in our code. So quickly we will just create that over here, and later on we will just add that accordingly. So in here we'll say double, we'll say ball x-axis, we'll just initialize over here negative 0.5. you guys can see that. Now what I'll do quickly, I'll just copy that, and in here for the y-axis, now for the width and for the height of the ball. So in here remove the x, put y, and we'll just set this to 1 for the y-axis of the ball, and that's going to be the width as I told you already, and that's going to be the height. Now accordingly we'll just change that to 0.2, and the last one will be 0.1 accordingly. Now right after that we'll create double type barricade over here, x-axis, and we will initialize 1. Now quickly what I'll do, I'll just copy that, and for the y-axis, and then gonna be the height, and then gonna be the width. So in here axis is done. Now we'll go with the y-axis, we'll just go now with the width of the barricade, it's gonna be 0.4, and also we are just left with the height of the barricade, and it's going to be 0.25. so we are specifically done with the variables, all of it. Now simply just jump right in the logic. So in here play game again, as I told you already about that. Now in the set state for the play game again, what we will do, we will set the game as over to false over here, and then simply the game as started, we will set this also to false, and then barricade x position, we'll just set this to 0.2, and right after that the score will be from the start initial phase, I mean from the 0. Whenever we will just play the game again, okay, in here 0. Now right after that ball x-axis position over here, you guys can see. Now right after that the ball y position, so ball y over here, we'll just set this to 1, and right after that the central jump we'll set to false over here for the play game again. So that's the specific requirement that we did over here for the play a game again right in this state. As I told you already, it will just change the result dynamically whenever we will just using the game or run the app. So I hope it's clear now. Let's move ahead. We will create another method, so it will return nothing. So in here we'll say white, and then we're gonna give the name as update for score. You guys can see that in here, braces and then curly braces, take this down. Now for the update score, what we will do, we will just set the logic over here. So in here we'll say if condition, we will use if barricade x axis, if that less than ball x axis, and also we will use the AND operator over here. First let me just complete the code, and then I will just explain this in detail as I did before. So in here AND operator, and then we'll say if ball as part of the barricade, and that's equals to false, then what we will do, only in that case curly braces, take this down, you guys can see that. Call upon this state, it will change the result dynamically as I told you already. So in here now what we will do, we'll say if ball as pass barricade, we'll set this to true, and then we'll just increment the score. So in here score, use the operator plus plus for the increment, and then whenever the ball will pass the barricade, it will just increment the score only in this specific condition. Now let me tell you that right in the detailed explanation. So basically over here this condition checks two things. First of all, it just checks if the barricade is behind the ball and the ball hasn't already passed it. So now the barricade X position, you guys can see that over here, is less than the ball X-axis position, meaning that the barricade is behind the ball. And then with it we use the AND operator. We said that with this specific condition check that one also, so it will just come towards that. And in here whether the ball as passed the barricade is false, as you guys can see that we set this to false, meaning that the ball has not yet passed this barricade. Only in that case, you guys can see the curly braces, inside that we call upon the set state. As I told you already, it will just change the result dynamically, and this basically tells the Flutter dot that the state of the application is about to change, which will trigger a rebuild of the UI with the updated state. That's why we call upon that the set state. And right inside that you guys can see that we set the ball as pass barricade, we set this to true. So basically this just prevents the score from being incremented multiple times for the same barricade. Once the ball passes this barricade, this flag is set to true. You guys can see that over here, and then right after you guys can see that score plus plus, it will just increment the score, the game score by 1, reflecting that the player has successfully passed the barricade. So I hope it's clear now. Let's just move ahead. Now we will create another logic, create another method, so it's gonna return nothing. In here we say void, and then we'll say loop for barricade. You guys can see that over here, braces, and then we say curly braces, take this down. So loop for barricade, what it will do. So in here, first of all, call upon the set state. You guys know already what it will do. Now in here we'll set the condition. First we'll say if barricade X-axis, you guys can see that if that position is less than, or in here we'll say if that's equal to the negative 1.2, only in that case what we will do. So take this down, we'll say barricade X-axis position, we'll set this to 1.2. you guys can see that over here, semicolon. Now in here we'll say if ball as pass barricade, we'll set this to false. Now I'll just tell you one more time, write in more detailed explanation. You guys can see that over here, loop for the barricade. So in here the first thing that we said is call for the set state, and you guys already know it will just change the result dynamically, update the state. Now right after that in here we set the if condition. You guys can see if barricade X-axis position, if that less than and equal to the negative 1.2, only in that case. So this line basically checks whether the barricade X position is less than or equal to the negative 1.2, which means that the barricade has moved off screen to the left. That's why we put that negative sign. Okay, now right after that, only in that condition, right inside the curly braces, we will just work upon them, and we set the barricade X-axis position equal it to the 1.2. so it's mean it places the barricade back on the right side of the screen, ready to move across again. And then you guys can see we set this to false. So This just reset the ball as pass barricade flag to false, allowing the ball to score again when it passes this new barricade position, as you said above. So I hope it's clear now. That's all for the loop barricade. Let's just move ahead now. So down below in here, it's gonna return the bool type variable. So in here we'll say bool, you guys can see that, and then we say deduct, that's going to be the name for the method, deduct for collision. And here braces, curly braces, take this down. Now in here I'll set the if condition. First let me just write the code and then I'll just explain this in detail explanation. Now in here, if barricade x-axis position over here, if that less than equal to the ball x position over here, and then we'll just add that to the ball width, and then also we'll add the AND operator. We'll just tell them also with this line of code check the other line of code that we're about to create. Okay, so in here we'll say barricade x axis position over here, we'll just add that to the barricade width over here, and we'll just say if that greater than equal to the ball x axis position over here, it will check that, and then we'll use the AND operator again over here, and we'll say if ball y position, if that greater than or equal to, over here we'll say barricade y axis over here, we'll just subtract that from the barricade height. You guys can see that. So what I'll do, I'll just take this down from here so that you guys can see it easily. Okay, just don't get confused in that. So that the specific condition that we set over here, I'll just explain this in detail, don't worry for that. So in here, only in that condition, what we will do over here, then in that we'll return true, and also in here return false. So this method return type is bool, you guys can see that over here, and the name is deduct for collision. So in here we basically just set three conditions. The first one that you guys can see over here, it's a barricade x if that less than equal to the ball x axis, plus we add that to the ball width. So checks if the right side of the ball is beyond the left edge of the barricade, and this one you guys can see it will check. Guys, remember in here we use the AND operator, so with this condition it will also check that and also check that one, the last one. Okay, now this condition, the second one, that barricade x plus barricade width if that is greater than equal to the ball x-axis, so it just checks if the left edge of the ball is beyond the right side of the barricade, it will check that. And the condition 3, you guys can see that over here, the ball y-axis if that greater than equal to the barricade y-axis, if the barricade y-axis, and we just subtract that negative barricade height. So it just checks if the bottom edge of the ball is below the top edge of the barricade. So basically this condition ensures that the ball and the barricade overlap both horizontally and vertically, indicating a collision. So if these conditions are met, a collision will be detected. That's why in here we return true. As I told you already, if all of the above conditions are true, this means that the ball has collided with the barricade, then the function, or let's say the method, return true to indicate a collision. And if the condition are not met, this above one, no collision will be detected. So that's why in here we return false. So I hope that's clear now. Let's just move ahead. And down below in here we will create another method. It's gonna return nothing, so in here we'll say void, and we're gonna simply just give the name as start game. Over here braces and curly braces, then take this down. So the first thing that I will call upon in here is going to be the systat. It will just change the result dynamically, update the state. Okay, so in here I'll just call upon the state, and right inside that we're going to say game has started, and we will set this to true. So it's going to just change that dynamically. Okay, update the state. Now right after that, down below in here, first scroll down. So now in here I'll just set the timer. First let me just complete the code, and then I will just explain it each and everything right in the detailed explanation. So in here I'll just set the timer. You guys can see the suggestion over here, and then we see periodic over here. Now I'll just set the duration over here. So in here duration widget, you guys can see that, and then I'll just have the millisecond over here, and I'll just set this to 10 milliseconds. Okay, now right after that what we will do, I'll just come here and remove that callback over here. Gonna have the timer over here, we'll set that, and right after that in here I'll have the curly braces right at end, semicolon. You guys can see that. Now simply just take this down from here like that, and in here you can just add the const modifier, so the yellow line will be equal since it's a constant. So we just successfully set the timer. Now in here I'll just set the if condition. We will check for the collision. So in here what I'll do, I'll say if detect for collision. Only in that case what I'll do over here, I'll have the curly braces over here and just take this down. If they detect the collision, then what we will do, we will just simply over the game over here and set this to true. So it will over the game whenever the collision will be detected. So now right after that let's just set the timer dot cancel, and right after that gonna call upon this state, and in here now what I'll do, set the condition, and we'll say if score, if that's greater than the best score. Only in that case what I'll do, in here curly braces, first take this down, and then we'll just assign the score to the best score over here. So that's going to be our best score then. Now right after that what I'll do, just come down below in here, we're gonna simply just call upon the loop for barricades over here, and then we'll simply just update the score. So in here I'll call upon the update for score method over here, and then right after gonna call upon this state over here, and then we'll say barricade x-axis. You guys can see that, and simply I'll say subtract equals to 0.01 over here. So it's gonna just update the state over here. Now all the working for this method by the name start game has been completely done. Now let me just explain that more in detail explanation right from here. You guys can see. So the first thing over here is that systat, and we set the game started, set it to true. So simply we just set the game state to started, and this just says the game has started. You guys can see that over here, flag to true, as I told you already, indicating that the game has begun. And right after that in here, as I told you already about the timer, periodic timer. So this just creates a timer that triggers every 10 milliseconds to update the game state continuously. And then we just set the condition for detecting the collision. So in here, this just call upon the detect for collision. You guys can see that over here, the method that we created earlier, just to check if the ball has collided with the barricade or not. Then right after that, hand in the collision detection. Then in here we just set this game over, true, timer cancel, and right in this state we check for the score, and we just assign the score to the best score over here if that is going to be greater than the best score. So the thing right here, if a collision is detected, it just sets the game as over flag to true, as you guys can see over here. Cancel the timer to stop the game loop, you guys can see that, and updates the best score if the current score will be greater than the previous best score. Then we just assign it to the best score. That's all in here. Now right after that, if we scroll down over here, we call upon the method by the name loop for barricade. So this method is simply just reset the barricade position if it has the moved off screen to the left. That's why we call upon that over here. And then we just call upon the update for score method over here, just to increment the score if the ball has passed the barricade. And then right in this state, you guys can see that we set the barricade X position negative equals to 0.01. So it's mean it decreases the barricade X position to move the barricade to the left, creating the effect of continuous movement. That's why we call upon that right in this state. So it will just change the result dynamically and update the state. That's all for the start game method over here. Now right after that, we're gonna create the last method simply for the jumping ball. So down below in here, it's gonna return nothing, the specific method that we are about to create. So in here void, and then we say jump ball. Now in here braces, and then right after curly braces, and take this down over here. Now first let me just complete the code, and then I will just explain it in detail, explanation each and everything. So first of all, in here we'll just set the central jump, set this to true for the ball, and then right after I'll just set the timer as we did above. Timer dot periodic, you guys can see that, and here I'll just set the duration. Then in here milliseconds, set this to 10, and then in here you guys can see that callback, remove that. In here braces, and we say timer, and then right after curly braces write it and semicolon, and take this down from here like that. Now in here what I'll do, we will create a logic simply for the ball height. So in here what I'll do, I'll say negative gravity over here, and then we'll just divide that by 2, and then we'll just multiply that over here. You guys can see that specific sign for the multiply, use that, and in here then we say time, and then again multiply it with the time square over here. You guys can see that, so time multiply by time, and then we say add this addition sign over here, and then say velocity, and then multiply that with the time. So simply have that in here, and then we'll just assign this to the height. You guys can see that. Now let's move ahead. In here we'll say state, and right in this state what I'll do, I'll just check upon. In here we'll say if one gonna be negative height, you guys can see that if that's greater than 1, then what we will do in this case, then just take this down, and we'll just reset the jump ball. You guys can see that, call upon this method over here, you will reset the jump ball, and then we'll just have to have the ball y-axis over here and set this to 1. Now right after that timer will cancel that, so dot cancel over here. First let me just complete the code and then I will again explain in detail explanation. Now let's move ahead over here. That's the if else. What we will do, if that gonna be not greater than 1, then in here else you guys can see that, take this down, so simply I'll just say 1 negative height, you guys can see that, right at end semicolon, and we're gonna simply just assign that to the ball y-axis over here. And then right after over here we'll check upon the, we'll say if game has over, then we have to just cancel the time. So in here we'll say timer dot cancel, let it end semicolon. Then right after what we will do, you will just come out over here and we'll just say time added equals to forwarded to 0.01 over here and semicolon. You guys can see that. Now everything has been completely done for this jump ball. Now what I'll do, I'll just explain each and everything more in detail explanation simply from here. As you guys can see in here, we just set the central jump flag to true, so this just indicates that jump is currently in progress. And right after that over here you guys can see that periodic timer, so this just creates a timer that triggers every 10 milliseconds to update the jump height continuously. And then right after you guys can see inside those curly braces this line of code, the logic that we created over here. So basically this uses the physics formula for projectile motion to just calculate the height of the jump. This formula, as you guys can see over here, just takes into account gravity and initial velocity. So this will just calculate the height of the jump for our ball. Now right after that you guys can see we call upon the syschat update the UI with the new position of the character. So basically this just tells the Flutter dot that the state of the application is about to change, which will trigger a rebuild of the UI with the updated position of the character. So gonna just change the result dynamically. Now right after that over here we are checking for if one negative height is greater than 1, then in this case what we will do, so simply this just check if the character calculated position has gone below the ground level, assuming 1 is the ground level. Then only in that case we just did this specific work. You guys can see over here we reset the jump ball, change the ball y-axis equal to 1 and then cancel the timer. So if the character has reached the ground, it's reset the jump state, set the character vertical position to the ground level and stop the timer. And then right in the else, simply for this condition on the flip side we will run this. So this line of code you guys can see over here, if the character is still in the air, it updates its vertical position according to the calculated height. And then over here we just stop the jump if the game is over. So we're checking for the game, if that's over then we just cancel the timer. And then lastly you guys can see that increment for the time for the next height calculation. So this basically just increases the time value which will be used in the next iteration of the timer to calculate the new height. So that's all for the jump ball, and we are done with the logic and we can say the methods for our game. Now we will simply just jump right in the widget bell and we will work upon the UI and other logical things right in the widget ball. So firstly in here I'll just remove that scaffold from here and we will return in here the gesture detector. First let me just complete the code and then I will just explain it in detail. Now in here semicolon and take this down. Right in this gesture detector it'll take the on tap, we'll give it over here, and then we're going to simply just call upon the game as over here. If game will be over, then right in here we'll use the operators. You guys can see that eternity operators. So this question mark will indicate the if game is over, then what we will do in here, simply braces and we'll say play game again. We're going to call upon that over here. And if game will be not over, then in here colon, this will indicate the else. Then in here braces and we'll say game has started over here. You guys can see that if game has started, then we'll set in here other condition with it. Then we'll say if game has started, we'll say if central jump. Also we'll say if central jump gonna be there, then we say null, and then else in here we'll say jump the ball. There we go. And then with it over here we'll say else start game. You guys can see that over here. Now let me tell you right in the detail what is basically going in here. You guys can see the gesture detector widget over here. It is used to detect tap gestures. When the user taps on the screen, it will execute one of the following function based on the game state. You guys can see down below in here that we set just a while ago. So if the game is over, if that's true, then it calls the play game again. You guys can see that we use those operators. It indicate if it will just call that if the game will be over. And on the flip side, if the game will not be over, then it just call upon the game is started and set this to true, and this just checks the central jump. If the central jump will be true, it does nothing, just return the null. And if the central jump will be false, then it calls the jump ball over here. Only if the game has started it will do that, and if the game has not started it will just simply call upon the start game over here. You guys can see that. I hope it's clear now. Let's just move ahead now. We will simply just take this down from here. We'll say child. We'll take the scaffold widget as a child over here. Now we will do a little work right on the UI. So right in the scaffold, what I'll do first, I'll just set the background color right in the scaffold widget. So we'll say colors and I'll go with the white 12. You guys can see that. And right after that, right for the body, gonna have the container over here widget. Take this down and we'll do decoration for that, for the body in the container. So decoration, we'll say box decoration. Take this down, we'll say image. We'll show image for the body right in the container. So in here decoration image, you guys can see that over here braces, comma, and take this down from here. Now in here we'll say image, and then we'll go for the asset image. In here braces string right at end semicolon. Now right in there I'll just set the path in here, comma. So I'll just say assets. It's right in the asset directory. You guys can see that. Expand that, go to the images, and in here we will use the sky.jpg, this one. Okay, so in here make sure to write the proper path over here, and the spelling must be same, otherwise it will not get that. So assets slash we'll go with the image directory, then slash, we'll say sky dot jpg. You guys can see that over here. Now I'll just add the const modifier, so it will just remove the yellow lines. You guys can see that over here. Now I will just show the result right at real time, so we have to go and open the emulator over here. This will take a while. That's the previous screen. You guys can see the home. Now what I'll do, since we made a major change, so we have to just hot reload the app from here. Click upon that. This will take a while. Just wait. You guys will notice the UI design, the sky. First it will show you the split screen, and after 3 seconds it will go towards the home screen. Then there you go, display screen, and there you go with the home screen, and you guys can see the sky, and you can see the background color white 12. Okay, it's all good. Now what I'll do, we'll just add the property fit to this image, so it will be good then. So in here, fit box fit over here, and we'll go with the dot cover comma in here, and press the Ctrl S. There we go. You guys can see that now. Now let's just take this to the side and let's work further. So below the box decoration over here, we'll take this stake widget as child. So in here child, we'll say stake widget, braces, take this down, then we'll go for children. You guys can see that over here. Now we'll take the container over here just to set the overall black curve with the opacity, so it will give an edgy look to our overall design. So in here container we'll tag, we'll go with the colors. You guys can see colors dot black, and we'll go with the opacity 0.5 over here. You guys can see that. And now in here comma, and just take this down like that. Now in here I'll take the column widget, you guys can see, and in here comma, and take this down. Right in the column widget, what I'll do, I'll take the children and take this down. So we have to use in here some widgets. Okay, the first one that we will use is going to be the expanded widget over here. For now on, remove that child, we will add it in a while. And in here comma, and take this down from here. Now right in this expanded widget, what I'll do, scroll down, we'll take the child, and we're gonna have the center widget as a child over here. Right in the center, we'll take the stick as a child over here. You guys can see that, and gonna have the children, take this down. Now in here we're about to go and create another dart file simply for tab to start for the game, so we will work upon that now. But if you talk about this stick as a child, we tag that over here. So this tag widget allows you to overlay multiple widgets on top of each other. It is useful for creating complex layouts where elements need to overlap. And right in here in the children, you guys can see that container. In here we set this black color with the opacity 0.5. So this semi-transparent black container, you guys can see that over here, it just add a semi-transparent black overlay. The color property, you guys can see, we just set this to colors.black with the opacity 0.5, which means the black color is set to 50% opacity, creating a dark overlay effect. As I told you already, it will just give an edgy look to our overall design. And then in here you guys can see that column widget. Why we take that over here? It just arranges the children in vertical direction. Here in our case it's contain an expanded widget. You guys can see that over here. That takes up 4 times the space compared to any other expanded widget that we added later through our encodes. Then we take the center widget as a child right in the center, and we take the stick and now in the children. Now we will go and work upon, as I told you already, tape to start for the game. So we have to go towards the lib and create a new directory by the name tape to start. In this directory, right click, create a new .file. We'll give the name as tape. Instead of space we'll give underscore, and we say to start right in the small alphabets, simply for a .file. Just now press enter. You guys can see that .file over here. So in here we'll have the stateless widget, and we're gonna simply give the name as tape to start. You guys can see, take this down. In here we'll simply import package flutter material dot. You guys can see that over here. Now we're gonna simply just go and create a variable over here. So we'll say final over here, and then we say bool type, and I'm gonna give the name as game as started over here, semicolon. Now let's just have the constructor over here for the tape to start. In here braces, then curly braces. We'll now just say in here required this dot game has started. You guys can see that, and write it and semicolon. Now tape in here and add the key constructor, and also we'll just add the constant modifier to it. You guys can see that. So this line of code just declare final instance variable by the name game is started of type bool. You guys can see that the final keyword means that this variable can only be set once and can be changed afterward. Okay, and then we just define the constructor over here. You guys can see that. So this line, as I told you already, is a constructor for the tape to start class. This constructor is marked as a const. You guys can see that over here, which allows the widget to be created as a compile time constant. If it all properties are also compile time constants, this can improve performance and reduce memory usage. And in here we pass that super.key parameter to the parent stateless widget constructor. This key can be used to uniquely identify this widget in the widget tree, which is useful for optimizing the build process and maintaining the state. And then afterward you guys can see that required this dot game is started. You guys can see that. So the required keyword ensures that game as started, you guys can see the parameter, must be provided when creating an instance of tape to start. So this dot game has started syntax assigns the value of parameter to the instance variable game has started. You guys can see that. So that's all. I hope it's clear. Let's move ahead now. Right in the widget build, we'll just remove that from here, and we will return in here the game has started. So if the game has started, we will use the ternary operators over here. You guys can see this will indicate if, as I told you already right in the home screen. Okay, so if game has started, if this sets to true, then we'll have the empty container over here. And on the flip side, if the game has not started, if it's set to false, then in here in the else we'll have the stake widget. You guys can see that, and in here semicolon. Now take this down. We will do a little work over here. So take the children over here and take this bracket down. The first thing that I will do, I'll just take the container widget over here. You guys can see that, and right in the container, the first thing that I will do, I'll just set this right in the center of the screen. Okay, so what we will do for this purpose, we'll set the alignment property over here, and then we say alignment dot center. Simply it will just set it right in the center. Now right after that, we're gonna just simply show the image for the start game. So we'll just have the image.asset as a child over here. So in here first we'll say child, and then we say image.asset. now in here we'll just provide the path for the image as I told you already. So in here string first, then it's right inside the asset directory, then slash inside the images directory, slash, and let me just check the name. It's a start game. Okay, this one. So let me just write the name, and the spelling must be same, guys. Provide the proper spelling. So in here start, you guys can see underscore, it's game dot png. So that's going to be our image for the start game. Now I'll show you the result right at real time. So what we will do, we will just copy that name from here and go towards the home screen. There's the home screen, and right in here you guys can see that we'll just call upon the tab to start, or you can just paste the name over here. Okay, you guys can see that. Now in here comma, and we have to just have the game as started. Set this to game as started over here. We have to pause that over here. Okay, as we created right in the tab to start the final variable. Okay, so we have to set this to the game as started. Now you guys can see that red line. Tap on that red bulb, import this tab to start. So it's gone now. Now if we just hot reload the app, you guys will notice the changes for the start game. There we go. You guys can see the start game image over here. Okay, so it's working totally fine. Now we will go back towards the tab to start in here, back again. Let's complete this. Right afterwards, below the container over here, I'll have the container in here comma, and take this down. First I'll just set the alignment for the shader. We're about to just add the shader to create a unique design, and we'll show a arrow over here. You guys will notice that whenever we will complete that. So let's just jump right in the code. So in here alignment we'll go with a widget, and for the x-axis we'll go with the 0, and for the y-axis we'll go with the negative 0.7. You guys will notice the design whenever we will complete that. Okay, so in here at the const modifier, then we'll take the shader mask as a child. So in here first child, and then we say shader mask over here. That's the widget, and just take this down. We have to call upon the shader callback function over here, and then what I'll do is gonna take the rect and then the bonds. First let me just complete the code, and then I'll just explain this in detail. Now right after that, what I'll do in here curly braces, you guys can see that, take this down. In here remove that comma and just direct bond. Okay, all just good. Now right after that, simply in here we will return the linear gradient. In here remove that now, and in here semicolon, and take this down. First we'll begin that. So in here first I'll say alignment top center, and we'll just end that alignment, we'll go with the bottom right. Now in here let's just choose the color for that, for the shader. So in here first bracket, and here comma. Now right in the bracket choose the colors. I'll go with the white, comma, colors dot pink. You guys can see that. Now right afterwards we'll say stops. You guys can see that in here bracket. For x-axis 0.0 and for the y-axis we'll go with the 1.0. You guys can see that in here comma, and here remove that semicolon and add the dot. We'll go with the create shader and gonna provide the rect, so the rect gonna be the bound. Okay, you guys can see that, write it and semicolon. You guys can see that. You can simply now just add the const modifier over here. All just good. And right after that in here we'll take the text widget as a child, and in here string, and you can simply get this arrow right from the Google. I just get it from the Google. Simply just go to the Google and search for this arrow and just copy the symbol and paste it in there. So comma, and we'll do a style for that, text style. In here font size, from now on we'll choose that, set it to 30 so it will be a little big. And what I'll do now, I'll add the const modifier just to remove those yellow lines. You guys can see that now. If we just press the Ctrl S, you guys will notice that little change right in the UI design. There we go. You guys can see that arrow over here, okay, below the tab to start. So I'll make this bold, so font weight, we will go with a font weight dot bold. So it's gonna just give a little bold style to the arrow, and that's it. Okay, it's bold now. And what I'll do now, I'll tell you about this more in detail. So in here you guys can see that in container we set this alignment. So what it will do, this container widget is a versatile container that can hold a single widget child, and in this case it is used to wrap a shader mask widget. So you guys can see the alignment over here. For the x-axis 0 and for the y-axis negative 0.7. It aligns the child widget horizontally centered and slightly above the vertical center of the container. And right after that we have the shader marks as child. So this shader marks widget applies a shader to its child widget, allowing for effects like gradient, blending and more. So in here we use that just to get the effect for its child. And you guys can see over here the shader callback. That's the callback function, provides the bounds of the shader marks and return a shader that should be applied to its child widget. And in here you guys can see the linear gradient. We just return that for the mixture of two color, white and pink. Begin that over here, top, center, and it bottom right, stop it for the x-axis and y-axis, and you guys can see all of the result for the specific codes over here for the arrow. Okay, so that's all. I hope it's clear now, and we are done with the tab to start. Now simply we'll close that and we'll go towards the home screen. There we go, back again. Now right after that we will simply work upon below, right after this tab to start, in here for the score and best score. So we will be working upon that. First we will create a dot file for that. So go towards the lib directory. You guys can see that over here. Right click, create a new directory by the name score, and right in this directory score create a new dot file. So in here it's going to be right in the small alphabets, and that's it. Press enter Now right in here we will have the stateless widget. Now I'm gonna simply just give the name over here, take this down. In here we'll say import package flutter material dot. Now in here we will create a variables that we're gonna need. So in here we'll type final keyword and we're gonna give the name as best score. You guys can see that over here, and you guys can see that final keyword over here. Once something will be assigned to this variable, it's gonna be non-changeable. Okay, now right after that you say final over here, and then let's create it for the score. Now let's work upon the constructor. Simply we will remove that from here, and down below in here we'll say score. You guys can see that in here braces, then curly braces, right at end semicolon. And now right in this, first we will say required, and then we say this dot best score, then comma, then we say required again over here, and then we say this dot score. Now simply click on this score, both add a const modifier, and also click on the score again, add the key constructor. All good over here, you guys can see that. Now right after that we will jump right in the widget build. So in here we will remove that placeholder widget and we will return simply padding. From now on remove that, we will add this in a while, right at end semicolon. Now drag this padding down widget, and in here we'll say padding, and then we'll go with the edge in sex. You guys can see that. We'll go with the dot all, and we'll set this 30. Now right after that child, we will take the row widget as a child over here. Now right in the row, first I'll set the property main axis alignment over here. So main axis alignment, we'll go with the dot space between, because we are about to show the images for the score and also for the best score. So in here that's the property that we set for the space between. Now right after that we'll say children. Right in the children, I'll take the column widget. We will show that in the column, and in here comma. Now take this widget down. In here again we'll say children. Now right in this children I'll say image dot asset. You guys can see that. In here name, put string. Now we'll say assets slash images directory slash, and guys the name must be similar, okay, otherwise it will not get the images. Slash, after that let me just check the name for the score is score. Okay, you guys can see that. So in here I'll say score dot png. Now what I'll do in here, I'll just show you the result right at real time. So we will copy that score name from here, and we will go back towards the home screen dot over here. Now below that tab to start, in here we'll say score. There we go. It's going to take the best score and score. You guys can see over here. So it's going to pass that to their class. Now in here we'll say comma, and also let's just put it in here. So we successfully just add that right in the home screen. You guys can see that. Now we will go back to the score dot over here. From now on we just set this image. If I just refresh the app, you guys will notice the changes. Now you guys can see the score over here, but we have to make this more perfect. So what we will do, let's just set over here the width. We will set it to 80, and also what I'll do, we'll go with the height, set it to 80. Control S. There we go. You guys can see the score over here. Now I'll do some style for that, simply for the text. So in here first comma and take this down over here like that. Now in here we'll take the text widget, in here comma, now just take this down, and here I'll say score dot to string. Simply it just convert it to the string, that's score. Okay, now right after that in here let's do some style for that. So we'll say text style, there we go, and let's just take this down. First let me just press the Ctrl S. You guys will notice the score for now it will be 0. You guys can see that over here it's really small and the color is black. I hope you guys notice that. Now we will make this more good. So style, in here first I'll just select the colors. So colors will go with a dot green, and right after that I'll increase the font size. Let's set it to 40, and also we will add the font family for that. So in here we'll go with a signature, write it and comma. Now add the constant modifier so the yellow line will be gone. There we go. Now press the Ctrl S. You guys will notice the changes. There we go. You guys can see it's more visible now and it's in green color, the font family signature. Now right after that what I'll do, we will just add the image for the base score and we will do some style for that. So what I'll do for time saving, I'll just copy that from here to here. Just don't get confused in that. Okay, from this column widget to this. Okay, make sure simply copy that, Control C, and below this column in here paste it. You guys can see the above one is that simply for the score, and that column that we passed while ago. So in here we will just make a little change simply for the top score, or let's say base score. So first let me just check the image name, top PNG. You guys can see that. Now in here I'll just change that top.png, and the width we'll just set this to 76, and also in here I just set it to 76. Okay, now in here we will remove that score because it's for the best score. So in here we'll say best, and then we say score, and all of the design will be similar. So we are good to go. Now simply just press the Ctrl S and you guys will notice the top score. There we go, with the image, top score, and that's the digit. For now on it's 0. All is good, and we are successfully done with the score. Now close that score.dot and you will go back to your home screen dot over here. Now right after that we will be working right on the ball logic, the height, width, the movement. Okay, so what I'll do, first of all we will go and go to the lib directory, right click, create a new directory, and we will simply just give the name as ball. Press enter. Now in this directory what I'll create .file, and we'll say ball. Now in here let's just create the stateless widget. We will give the name as ball, and just take this down. In here we'll say import package material.dot. There we go. Now in here we will create some variables. that we're gonna need. So down below in here we will say final keyword. You guys know what you will do, and it's gonna be double type. Now we will give the name as ball x-axis. You guys can see that. Now I'll just remove that from here. From now on you'll add it in a while back again. So what I'll do, I'll just copy that, and we will paste it for the y-axis, then simply for the ball width, ball height. Now simply just you'll edit that y-axis, you guys can see that, and then we say ball width, and in here we'll say ball height. Now we will work upon the constructor. We'll say ball, and then braces, curly braces, right at and semicolon. Now in here also required, and we'll say this dot ball x-axis. Now in here comma, take this down, copy it, paste it for the y-axis, width and height of the ball. Now in here y, there we go. In here that's gonna be the width, and that one gonna be the height. All just fine. Now tap in here on the ball, key constructor added, and also add the const modifier since the constant. All done. Now you will jump right in the widget bell. So in here I'll remove that placeholder, you guys can see that, and in here we will return the container widget. Right at end semicolon, take this down. Now we will be working right on the alignment, or let's say physics of the ball width and height. So what I'll do in here, I'll take the alignment property over here, and then we say alignment widget, take this down. First guys, let me just complete the code, and then I will explain each and everything right in the detail. Now in here what I'll do, I'll say first braces in here, then we'll say 2, let's just multiply that with the ball x-axis, you guys can see, and then just the addition sign added with a ball width. Now simply what I'll do, I'll just divide that braces in here first, then we say 2 negative ball width. Now right after that comma, and take this down. So in here braces first, and then we say 2 multiply that with the ball y-axis, and then addition added with the ball height. Now let's just multiply that with a first in here braces 2 negative, and then we say super negative, and then we say ball height over here, and here comma. Now let me just explain this more in detail. So in here, as I told you already, in here we take the container widget. So this container widget is basically used to align its child based on the alignment property, and you guys can see that over here. Then we take the alignment widget over here, you guys can see that. So the alignment class align its channel within the container. The x-axis and the y-axis parameters of alignment widget are calculated dynamically based on the ball x-axis and the ball y-axis, and simply the ball width and height variables, and you guys can see that over here everything. Now this line of code, what it will do, basically it just calculate the horizontal alignment. So you guys can see that it will simply just calculate the ball horizontally right in the center within the bounds of the container. And you guys can see that ball X represent the current horizontal position of the ball, and you guys can see the ball width represent the width of the ball. And simply for the vertical, you guys can see that line of code. This will calculate the center the balls vertically within the bounds of the container. So you guys can see the ball Y axis just represent the vertical position of the ball, and that's the ball height. I hope it's clear now. Let's move further. Right after that, we're gonna simply just take the size box as a child. So in here first child, and then we say size box widget over here, and then we'll set the height. So we'll say in here media query. You guys can see we'll go with a dot of context, and then we say dot size dot height, and let's just multiply that with a 2.5, and then divide it with a 3, and multiply again with the ball height and divide it by 2. I'll just explain this in a while in more detailed explanation. First let me just complete the code. Now in here we'll say width, and we'll go with the media query. You guys can see that we'll go with the dot of context. Now simply the size dot width over here, and then let's just multiply that with the width of the ball. So in here we'll say ball width, and just divide that with a 2. Right after that, we're gonna simply just take the image dot asset as a child over here. So first in here child, and then we say image dot asset. You guys can see that. Remove that over here string, and we say assets over here, the directory name, and then the directory name of images, and then let me just check the name for the player ball, that one. Now back again right in the ball, there we go. So in here I'll say ball dot png, and that's it. Now what I'll do, I'll just add the property for this ball just to fit it. So in here fit, we'll go with the box fit dot fill. It will be more fill the shape of the ball. Let's just expand it more in detail. So in here you guys can see we take this as box widget as a child. So this widget is used to create a box of a specified size. In this case, the size is dynamically calculated based on the screen size and the dimension of the ball. So firstly right in there we calculated the height. So you guys can see that mediaquery.opcontext.size.height. Basically this just gets the height of the device screen, and you guys can see that with a 2.5 divided by 3. This fraction scales the screen's height to a certain portion, and the ball height you guys can see that we just divided by 2, then basically just represent the height of the ball relatively to some reference value, and then you guys can see we just divided by 2. So further it just scales down the height of a ball to the half of the calculated value. You guys can see that over here. Okay, now right after that you just calculate the width of the ball, calculate it. You guys know by doing that we just get the width of the device screen, and you guys can see the ball width represent the width of the ball relatively to some reference value, and divided by 2 at n. In here you guys can see basically just scale down the width to the half of the calculated value for the ball. And then in here you guys can see we take the image.asset widget as a child over here, and then we just set the path and just fill it, add the property box fit, and this property just ensure that image is stretched to fill the center for the entire size box widget. So that's it. And what I'll do, I'll just copy that name from here, go to the home screen, below the score over here we'll say ball, or you can even paste it, you simply copy it. Okay, in here take this down. Now tap on that, import that library in here. Now first of all we'll say ball x-axis, and then we say ball axis over here, just provide that over here. Now in here we'll say ball y-axis, and in here we'll say ball y-axis. Let's just subtract that with the ball height. Now right after that simply we'll say ball width, and then we say ball height, not the height, it's the width. Let's just take this down, and then we say ball height. We'll go with the ball height now. That's all, and write it and in here comma. So basically from here this line begins the instantiation of the ball widget, indicate that the new ball widget is being created and inserted into the widget tree. And right after that you guys can see that ball x, we assign it to the ball x over here, you guys can see that. So simply that ball x parameter is passed to the ball widget, and ball x represents the horizontal position of the ball on the screen, as you guys know already. So it's a double as we initialize it right in the ball. If you guys just move the mouse over here, press the control and then left click on the mouse, it will take you right here, you guys can see. Okay, so we are just assigning that specifically, and right after that we assign the ball height and y-axis, you guys can see that. So specifically this line of code ensures that the ball's vertical position is adjusted by its height. This is useful for just positioning the ball correctly in the relation to other elements. And then simply the width, the height. That is all. Now let's just go ahead and refresh the app. You guys will notice the changes for the ball. You guys can see the ball over here, down below in here. Okay, so before the ball movements, right after that we will create the barricade. Simply whenever the ball will move, there will be some barricades, and then we will create the game over screen. So when all this will be completed, then we will be working right on the ground area, the green grass over here, or the ground that we will create for this ball to move ahead to their destination. So right after that, as I told you already, we will be working right on the barricade and the game over screen. Now let's go toward the lib directory, right click, create a new directory by the name barricade. You guys can see that over here. Now right click on this directory, barricade, create a new file by the name barricade. You guys can see that. So in here we will have a stateless widget, so write st. Now simply I'll give the name as barricade. You guys can now just take this down, and in here we'll say import package flutter material.dot. Now in here I'll remove that and we will return empty container, write it and semicolon, take this down. Now we're gonna create some variables that we're gonna need, so I'll remove that from here, and in here let's just start writing. So in here final keyword, once something will be assigned to the variables, it will be not changed then. Okay, so in here is gonna be double type, and we'll give the name as barricade. You guys can see x-axis. Now for time saving, I'll just copy that and in here paste it for the y-axis, width and height. So in here y-axis, now we'll change this to width of a barricade, and that's going to be the height. Now let's just create a constructor for that. Barricade, in here braces, curly braces, right at end, semicolon. Now let's just take this down, and in here I'll say required, and we'll say this dot barricade x-axis, in here comma. Now just copy that, and in here paste it for the y-axis, width and height. So copy that in here, paste it, copy that in here, paste it, all done. Now tap on that, add the key constructor, add the const modifier. Now back again in the widget bell container widget over here. First I'll just set the alignment for the barricade x-axis, y-axis with a width and height. So in here I'll take the alignment property, and then we'll say alignment widget over here, take this down. First let me just complete the code, and then I'll just explain each and everything right in the detailed explanation. So in here first braces, then we say 2, simply multiply that with the barricade x-axis, and then just add it with the barricade width. You guys can see. Now what I'll do, I'll divide that in here first braces 2, let's just subtract that with a barricade width over here. Now in here comma, take this down, in here braces first, you guys can see that, and in here first I'll say 2, then multiply it with the barricade y axis, there we go, and then addition, add it with the barricade height over here, you guys can see. Now in here divide it, braces first, in here 2, let's multiply it with a, not multiply, it's a subtract, yep, because we're gonna go with the height, and in here subtract it, and barricade height, in here comma. So you guys know already, in here we return the container widget, and in here we take the alignment. So this first line of code, you guys can see that over here what it will do is just represent the horizontal position of the barricade, and the barricade width over here represent the width of the barricade. So this formula calculates the horizontal alignment value, and 2 multiplied by barricade x-axis doubles the barricade x coordinate, and then we just add it with the barricade width, adds the width of the barricade, and then simply in here we just divide it, and in here 2 negative barricade width. So this just divided by the remaining width after subtracting the barricade width from 2. So as a result, this produces a normalized value that determines where the barricade is positioned horizontally within the parent container. And then right over here you guys can see that for y-axis, so they just represent the vertical position of the barricade, and this just represent the barricade height over here. So this formula over here, you guys can see, just calculate the vertical alignment value, and in here you guys can see that doubles the barricade's y coordinate and add it with the barricade height, and then we just simply divide it, you guys can see that over here with this, divided by the remaining height after subtracting the barricade height from 2. So as a result, this produces a normalized value, as I told you already for the above one. Just determine where the barricade is positioned vertically within the parent container, and that's all for that. Now let's move ahead. Below that, in here we'll say child. Now we're going to take the size box widget over here, braces. Now let's just set the height, we'll say media query dot of contacts, we'll go with the dot size dot height, and let's just multiply that with a 2 divided by 3, you guys can see that over here, and let's just multiply it again with a barricade height divided by 2. Take this down, in here width we'll say media query dot of contacts over here, Now dot size, dot width, and in here multiplied with the barricade width divided by 2 lastly. Now let's just take the image asset as a child. So in here first child, and then image dot asset over here. Now in here string we'll say assets, directory name images slash, let me just check the name for the barricade, it was barrier. Okay, that one. So in here we'll say barrier dot png. All good. I'll just add the property for that as we did before for the player ball. In here I'll say fit property, and then we say box fit widget. Over here we'll just say dot fill, and I have already explained this right in the ball dot file. So this will calculate the height of the barricade, you guys can see that, and this will calculate the width. And in here we just finally get the image dot asset and show the image for the barrier and just fit it, okay, with a box fit or fill. So that's all. Now what I'll do, I'll just copy that from here, Control C, go towards the home screen dot over here below this. You can manually write or paste it over here. So barricade, you guys can see that over here. Now what I'll do, I'll just take this down one by one like that, okay, comma, and take this down in here, comma also. For the ball y-axis we negative with the ball height over here. So what I'll do in here, I'll say negative barricade height, and all of the work will be similar for the barricade, okay. We are passing that specific value to the barricade. Now that's all. What I'll do, I'll just go and refresh the app. You guys will notice the changes for the barricade. We didn't see the barricade because the ball is not moving yet and the barricade is ahead of it, okay. If we just change the value for the barricade, you guys will notice that. There's the barricade. So if we can only change the barricade to 0.4 and just refresh the app, you guys will notice the barricade. There we go, with the barricade position. For now on, you guys can see that, okay. So whenever the ball will be moving right in the future, then we have to just set the barricade a bit ahead of it, okay, so that there will be no collision as an initial phase. So we have to set this back to the 1 and just refresh the app. Now let's just scroll down. You guys notice the barricade, and that's all for the barricade working. So we'll simply close that from here and we'll go towards the home screen dot back again over here. Now we will work upon right on the game over screen. So we'll go and create a new directory right in the lib. I'll give the name as game over screen, and in this directory I'll just create a dot file for that game. Instead of space we will give underscore over underscore screen. In here we will have a stateless widget, so write st. Now I'll give the name as game over screen. Now just take this down. In here we'll say import package flutter material dot. You guys can see that. Now what I'll do, simply we will create a bool type variable over here. So I'll say bool and we'll say game over, or I'll just change it as game as over. that will be more appropriate. Now in here, semicolon, I'll just remove that and add it down below. So let's just create the constructor for the game over screen, braces, curly braces, right at end, semicolon, and in here we'll say required, and we'll say this dot game is over. Now in here, you guys know already, add the key constructor. Now what I'll do, I'll just remove that, jump right in the widget belt. Okay, return the variable bool type over here, game is over. So if this will be true, then right in here we'll use return new operators. This question mark will indicate if game as over will be true, then we will show right in here this take widget, and we will do a little work right in there. So simply just take this down, we'll say children, right in the children we'll take the container widget over here, comma, take this down from here. First I'll set the alignment, okay, for the game over image. So in here, alignment for the x-axis is going to be 0, and for the y-axis I'll set the game over image with a 0.1 over here. You guys will notice that whenever we will just run the app, and I'll show you that game over screen. So you're gonna also notice the alignment then. So in here I'll take the image.as child. So in here child first, then we'll say image.asset, take this, and in here I'll say assets, the directory name, then the slash images directory, then slash again we'll say game. Let me just check the name, it was game over, I think so. Yep, game over, game o underscore over dot png. That's all for the image. And if game will be over, if this set to true, then we'll show that the image, as I told you already. And if this game as over will be false, then in here we'll say colon, this will indicate else, and then we'll show the empty container. So that's a little logic for the game over screen. Now what I'll do, I'll just go towards the home screen, and below that over here I'll say game over screen over here. Let's just take this down, so down in here, comma. So what I'll do now, I'll just quickly create the ground for the ball, for the barricade, and then whenever the ball will start moving and collide with the barricade, then you guys will notice the game over screen. I'll show you that. So let's just go ahead and work further right in the home screen for now. So below the expanded widget over here, I'll take another expanded widget for now on. Let's remove that, and in here comma, and take this down. So I'll take the container widget as a child. So in here first child container widget, take this down, we'll say color, choose the color, we'll go with the gray for this container, and then we'll take the stake widget as a child over here. You guys can see that. First I'll set the alignment, we'll set it right in the center, so dot center over here, you guys can see that. And we'll say children, take this down, I'll take the image asset dot asset over here. Now in here string first, and in here I'll provide the path slash images slash ground dot jpg, in here comma, and let's take this down, fit, we will go with the box fit dot cover, and let's choose the width for the ground. It's gonna be the double dot infinity, and also the height we'll go with a double dot infinity. Now what I'll do, I'll just refresh the app and let's just see the result. There we go. You guys can see the ground over here for now. We'll just take this down, the ground, but before that what I'll do, let's just add the first in here comma position. I'll go with the position dot fill. In here for now on, remove that. We will add this in a while. So in here comma, and take this down from here. Take the center widget as a child over here, right in the center of the screen, the ground. In here I'll take the child text widget and take this down. We'll say gravity glide, and comma in here, press the Ctrl S, you guys can see the gravity glide over here, but we will make this more visible. So what I'll do, let's do some style for that. Text style, and the first thing that I will do, let's increase the font size. We'll set this to 40, and also I'll choose the color. We'll go with the colors dot white. Now I'll make that bold, so font weight, we'll go with the font weight dot bold, and font family we'll choose over here Babas. Control S, let's just see, you guys will notice it now. There we go with the gravity glide. What I'll do, I'll just add the shadow for that text. So this text over here, you guys can see, we will add the shadow. So before getting the effect, what I'll do, I'll say first in here shadows, bracket over here, you guys can see that, in here comma, and take this down. Now shadow widget over here. Now in here comma, we'll choose the blur radius, we'll set this to 4, and the color we'll choose, we'll go with the pink. Let's set the offset property over here, so offset widget for the x-axis too, and for the y too. You guys can see. Now refresh the app, or you can press the Ctrl S. You guys will now notice the shadow. There we go, okay, right in the pink. So what I'll do now, I'll just add a 600. We will change the gray color a bit, all just fine. Now what I'll do, I'll just get the ground down below, as I told you already. So for that purpose, what I'll do, if we just scroll up and come towards the expanded widget, you guys can see that over here. We'll say flex, and we'll just set this to 4. Now refresh the app, and boom, there we go. You guys can see the overall design now for our game. It's look more attractive than before. So all of the working for this game has been completely done. Now we are left with the last thing, and that is just to test the app, the game. Okay, Gravity Glide Ball Runner, and everything is just explained in detail, each and everything. Okay, now what I'll do, let's just test that Gravity Glide Ball Runner. Move the screen to the side. We already refreshed the app. Let's do it one more time. First, you guys will notice display screen. After 3 seconds, it will go towards the home screen, that one. Okay, so in here you guys can see the score for now 0 and top score for now 0, and in here you guys can see the arrow right in the design, and you can see the background design over here. Now you guys can see that play button. If I tap on that, the game will start and the ball will move ahead, and you guys will also notice the barrier. And in order to just save the player, the ball from the barrier, you guys will do one thing, just to tap on the screen, the mouse, and the ball will jump. You guys will notice that in a while. So come here, first of all tap on display. There we go, the ball is moving. Jump, and you guys can notice the score. It's 1 now. Jump, 2, jump, 3, jump, 4, jump, 5. Let's just over the game. You guys can see when the ball collide with the barricade, there we go with the game over screen, and you guys can see the score is 5. It just passed that to the top score. It's 5 for now. And now if I just run the game again, and if I cross the limit score 5 or the top score, it will just change the score for the top score. Now come here, tap on the screen back again, click on this play button again, and let's just do more score just to change the top score over here so that you guys can notice. Now tap on that and quickly just jump the ball like that. You guys can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just cross 6. There you go. You guys can see that the score is now 7 and the top score is 5. If I just over the game, the top score will be changed. There we go. You guys can see that's the collision area of barricade. The ball collides and game over screen, you guys can notice over here, and you guys can also notice the top score is 10 now. So it's working totally fine. It will work like that. So basically that's all. Everything is just working fine, and we successfully just created that game. So good luck.